In a quiet little village, nestled between rolling green hills and fields of golden wheat, lived 3 brothers. The first brother was clever, always scheming and planning. The second was even cleverer, quick with his words and even quicker with his wits. And the third, well, everyone just called him Simpleton. Not because he was mean or lazy, but because he had a peculiar habit. When others mocked him, he'd just smile. When he had only a little bread, he'd share it. He trusted the world to be kind, even when it wasn't. He wore simple, patched clothes and always carried a loaf of bread, just in case someone needed a piece. The villagers would often laugh at his simple ways, and strangely enough, Simpleton would just laugh right along with them. One bright morning, a royal proclamation echoed through the village. The king declared, "Whoever brings me a wonder unlike any other shall earn a royal reward." The 2 older brothers saw their chance. They packed fine foods, sharpened their axes, and marched into the forest with grand plans to find a treasure. A little while later, Simpleton followed behind. He didn't have a grand plan. He just had a crust of bread, a jug of water, and a pocket full of hope. He wandered into the trees, the sunlight dappling through the leaves, not looking for a wonder, but just wondering what he might find deep within the woods. Where the path grew faint, he came across an old man huddled by a tree, his face pale with hunger. "Kind boy," the man rasped, "could you spare a crumb? I haven't eaten in days." The 2 older brothers had passed this man earlier, laughing at his plea, but Simpleton didn't hesitate. He broke off a large piece of his bread and handed it over, along with his jug of water. The old man's eyes twinkled. "For your kindness," he said, "go to the oldest oak in this forest. You'll find your fortune there." Simpleton thanked him and continued on his way. A little further, he found a small rabbit shivering in the cold morning air, its fur trembling. Without a second thought, Simpleton took off his worn-out jacket and gently wrapped it around the little creature. The rabbit snuggled into the warmth, its nose twitching gratefully. Further still, he saw a tiny sparrow that had fallen from its nest, chirping weakly on the ground. Simpleton carefully scooped it up, crumbled the last of his bread into tiny pieces, and fed the bird until it regained its strength and flew back to its nest. Finally, he reached the heart of the forest and saw it the oldest oak, its branches reaching towards the sky like ancient arms. And there, at its roots, was a magnificent goose. Its feathers weren't white or grey, but pure, shimmering gold. It glowed like liquid sunlight, so bright it was hard to look at. As Simpleton approached, the goose didn't fly away. Instead, it looked at him with intelligent eyes and let him gently pick it up. It seemed the goose knew it belonged only with someone whose heart was as pure as its feathers. With the golden goose tucked under his arm, Simpleton began the journey home. As he passed through a nearby town, a young girl with greedy eyes saw the shimmering prize. "Just one feather," she cried, lunging forward and grabbing onto the goose's tail. And then the strangest thing happened. She was stuck. Her hand was fused to the feather, and she couldn't let go, no matter how hard she pulled. "Help me," she wailed. A portly baker, hearing the commotion, rushed out of his shop. "You silly girl, let go of the bird." He scolded and grabbed her by the shoulder to pull her away. And just like that, poof, the baker was stuck too, his hand glued to the girl's shoulder. He tugged and twisted, but it was no use. Next, a burly butcher, seeing the baker in a jam, tried to pull him free, and you guessed it, the butcher got stuck to the baker. Soon, a ridiculous chain of people was trailing behind Simpleton and his goose. There was the girl, the baker, the butcher, a farmer's wife, and even the town's grumpy mayor. They were all stuck together, a human chain of greed and curiosity. The goose just honked proudly, waddling along as if this was the most normal thing in the world. Simpleton, bless his heart, just kept walking, a little confused but still smiling, trying his best not to trip over anyone. This bizarre parade stumbled through fields and towns, a tumbling, grumbling spectacle. Children pointed and laughed, dogs barked, and everyone came out to see the boy with the golden goose and his very long, very loud tale of stuck villagers. The news of this strange sight traveled faster than they did, eventually reaching the royal castle. High up in a lonely tower, the princess sat by her window. She was beautiful, but her face was always sad. Years ago, a curse had been placed upon her. She could never, ever laugh. The king had offered fortunes to anyone who could make her smile, but clowns, jesters, and comedians had all failed. Now, as she gazed out, she saw the most absurd thing she had ever witnessed. Simpleton, leading his train of stuck-together people, was approaching the castle gates. The entire procession was a mess of flailing arms and legs. The baker was complaining about his burnt bread. The butcher was grumbling about his shop. And the mayor was shouting orders that no one could follow. The princess watched, a flicker of amusement in her eyes. Just as they reached the castle courtyard, Simpleton, distracted by a pretty flower, tripped over a loose cobblestone. He went down, and the entire chain of villagers went with him. It was a spectacular, chaotic crash. The girl, the baker, the butcher, the farmer's wife, and the mayor all tumbled into the grand royal fountain in a giant, tangled heap, splashing water everywhere. It was a symphony of sputtering, shouting, and complete slapstick chaos. And from the tower above, a sound nobody had heard in years erupted. A clear, beautiful, joyful laugh. The princess was laughing. She laughed until tears streamed down her face, the sound echoing across the courtyard. At the sound of her laughter, the curse was broken. The golden goose began to glow with an incredible, blinding light. And in that flash, all the villagers became unstuck, falling away from each other in a daze. The king, overjoyed, rushed out to meet Simpleton. "You've broken the curse. You've saved my daughter," he boomed. "Ask for anything gold, land, a title, it's yours." But Simpleton didn't want a fortune. He looked at the happy princess, the bewildered villagers, and the glowing goose, and he smiled his simple, honest smile. "All I've ever wanted," he said softly, "is a warm home, a small garden to grow vegetables, and good friends to share them with." The king, moved by his humble request, granted it immediately. As Simpleton accepted, the Golden Goose gave one last soft honk. It then dissolved into a shower of golden light, its magical purpose fulfilled, and disappeared into the air. From that day on, no one in the village ever called him Simpleton again. They had a new name for him. They called him Lucky. And they finally understood that true luck isn't found in clever plans or greedy hands, but in the simple, everyday magic of kindness, given freely from the heart. Thank you so much for watching this story with us. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more tales that warm the heart. See you next time.